Hello everyone, my name is Prithvi Raj. I am the Litmus Kiosk Community Manager and I welcome you all to this latest edition of the Litmus tutorials where we will be introducing Litmus Kiosk from scratch to you. There were a lot of community requests, a lot of folks, a lot of members who are just getting started with their journey in the chaos engineering world requested me to talk about Litmus, to talk about chaos engineering and introduce Litmus to them because while they select a toolset or while you select a toolset, it is vital to understand what the toolset is from scratch and an introductory video is very important. So it was my duty to talk about Litmus from scratch and I'll be talking about a lot of things. So stay tuned till the end of the video and let's get started without any ado in 3, 2, 1. So here we are talking about Litmus Chaos, and here I have pulled in an introductory deck where I'll be covering everything or most of the stuff about Litmus. Make sure you remember that it's an introductory video, so we'll be covering most of the introduction part of it, and then post that we'll perhaps in our next video we'll talk about a demo and get deeper into Litmus. So let's get started. Before starting off with the agenda we have in hand, just a little bit about myself. My name is Prithvi Raj. I work as a community manager for the Litmus Kiosk project, as you know, and I'm part of the Kiosk Native team, which became a spun off from the Maya Data team. I joined in as the community manager at Maya Data, and then now I'm leading the chaos engineering efforts at Chaos Native. I'm also a co-organizer at Chaos Carnival. We had an inaugural edition of the conference this year, which was joined by chaos engineering experts from around the world. And then, other than that, I organize Kubernetes chaos engineering meetups every last Saturday of the month, where anyone from the community comes in and talks about chaos or gives in demos about Litmus. And I also organize Kubernetes community days under the CNCF space in the Bangalore edition 2021. So moving on, what do we have as an agenda for today? We'll be talking about resiliency, why resiliency is important, and how chaos engineering comes in when we talk about resilience. And then how do you achieve this resiliency? What are the steps to be taken? What are the goals in hand? And how chaos engineering helps in achieving resiliency. Then we move on to Litmus. We introduce Litmus briefly, what exactly Litmus is, Litmus 101 basically, and then we go into experiments a little bit, and then how you can contribute. It's an open source project, as you know, and if in case you don't know, let me tell you, it's an open source project, so there are opportunities for you to contribute. So what exactly is resilience? Let's get started by this. As you can see at the top of your screen, we'll be covering these 5 aspects, and the first one is what exactly is resilience. So resilience is nothing but your system's ability to withstand an outage or a fault. Let's say even if there's an outage, or even if there's some disturbances in the system, if your system has the capability to withstand that, stay afloat when a fault happens, then you know your system is resilient. And today resilience is driven by a lot of factors. It is driven by how your system reacts, at what time the system reacts, at what exactly happens in the system, and what are the post checks that are happening. So these are all the factors, and there are many more factors which drive resilience. So let's take a few examples of resilience and weaknesses, what exactly happens in a Kubernetes native system. So as you can see, if there's a pod which is evicted from a node, that's an example. So pod is rescheduled and dependent service is healthy is example of a resilience. The dependent service slows down or turns unhealthy is an example of a weakness. Similarly, a few more examples. Let's say a node. Let's talk about a node. So a node goes to a not ready state. So how is it that the node is resilient? If the pod is rescheduled and the dependent service is healthy, then the node is resilient. Or if the dependent services again slow down and turn unhealthy, it's again an example of a weakness. And similarly, that's again, you take an example of a memory leak in a container. So these are the examples, or these are the possible outages that can happen, or these are the possible tests that can be curated, and this is how you find the resiliency or the weakness of a system. And that is what resiliency is all about, to test if your system is resilient to different kinds of attacks, different kinds of outages, and that is where chaos engineering comes into play. So chaos engineering, why exactly it is required? I talked about this in one of my previous videos where I discussed the principles of chaos, that resilience of your application doesn't just depend upon your application. I mean, there are a lot of layers to your application. There's your application, and then there are subsequent layers which are in form of a pyramid. So the resiliency requirements moves in a top down approach, and as you can see, there are so many services out there. There's your application, then there's MongoDB, cloud native services, Kubernetes services, and then eventually your platform services. And that is why chaos engineering is essential, because it helps test each layer. In each layer you can curate some amount of tests, you induce an outage in the system deliberately. That is what chaos engineering is. And there you test if that system or that layer is resilient or not. So I mean, too many applications can affect the resilience of your system. Even if your system is resilient initially, or you have curated some amount of tests, let's say a performance test, load test, penetration test, any test, and you think your system is resilient. But as the SRE practices follow, or as you know that once there are more services induced in the application, or your system grows, there's development in your system, there are chances, or there is a chance to induce a fault, or there might be a lot of risks. So because these applications are changing themselves as well often, so you need to constantly validate the resilience of your system. You need to constantly test, you need to constantly check if the system is resilient or not. And that is why, not just for Kubernetes but for any other application, chaos engineering comes into play. So how do you build this resilience? Let's understand how this resiliency is achieved, and these are basically the principles of chaos engineering. So the first step out there, as you know, is identifying a steady state condition. If your system is steady or not, if your system is, what are the steady state conditions? You build a hypothesis, and then you understand how does your system stay when it's steady, when there are no outages that are happening. And then you introduce a fault in your system. I mean, after understanding what's the steady state, you go on introducing a fault. Let's say pod delete experiment, or a node CPU hog, or any, let's say any experiment. You introduce that in your system, and if your steady state conditions are regained in spite of the fault happening, or post the fault is introduced, then of course your system is resilient, because yes, your steady state has conditions has been regained. But what if, and then you inject a new fault, of course. I mean, we are not going to what if the steady state conditions are not regained, but you need to constantly test, right? So you inject a new fault, and then again the loop goes on to constantly check that your system is resilient or not. But what if the system is not resilient and there's a weakness found? Then simply you fix that, and post you fix that, you introduce a fault again, and this step continues to go on. And that is what is the loop. It's the software engineering loop of a workflow of creating or curating chaos experiments to achieve resiliency. So what are the cloud native way of doing things? I mean, obviously today everything is open source and everything is available on Git or GitHub, as you say. So you have a YAML file. I mean, that's how the experiment is written, and that YAML file, and there are some chaos engineering custom resources, and there's a chaos operator. So the operator helps pulling in the chaos experiment, which is in form of a YAML file on your Git. And obviously you need to, as scalability and reliability are very important factors. When you come to scalability, you need your experiments to be automated, so they are fully automated. The operator helps in pull a chaos experiment, which is in form of a YAML file, and the custom resource is run accordingly. And then the chaos engineering experiments are curated, which are applied to your infrastructure, your Kubernetes environment, your application lifecycle management, resource management, policy management, resilience check. These are applicable when once a chaos test is run. So it's a very easy way, and that is how it is done in a cloud native way, where nothing has to be done manually, everything is automated. Moving on, as took you through the principles of cloud native chaos or how it is run, let's talk about this from the Litmus perspective. Before introducing Litmus, just talking about it from the Litmus perspective. So what is very important, as or I mean, SRE is the persona which mostly uses chaos engineering. I won't say that SRE is the only persona. With the recent, I mean, the recent engagements in the community, what has been noticed is even the developer persona, everyone is introducing chaos in their systems in some or the other way. So you identify your steady state conditions, introduce your fault, and according to the SRE principles or the SLAs or the SLOs, the service level objectives, you identify if these service level objectives are met or not according to the enterprise requirements or according to how you set your SLOs. And if yes, then they are resilient. If no, there's a weakness found. And there's a litmus chaos engine custom resource which is functioning, and the chaos experiment custom resource. These two are what are helping drive the chaos experiment, and the operator helps pull in these custom resources, and there's a chaos runner running these experiments. The chaos runner helps curate the chaos tests, and then there's a chaos result custom resource where you find if your experiment has passed or failed, or you visualize your result and see how your chaos engineering experiment was curated and if your goals were met or not. So this is a layout of how Litmus works and how the chaos engineering workflow works. But moving on, what exactly Litmus was built on? It was built on the principles of cloud native chaos engineering. I have put the link to the video on principles of cloud native chaos engineering in the description, so do check that out. That was a video curated previously, and that might help you understand what the principles are. And these are the basic principles. In our opinion, it should be open source, community collaborated. There should be an open API and lifecycle management which should help everyone understand how chaos engineering is happening, and then run chaos for, let's say, even non-Kubernetes scenarios for other cloud native entities. That can be for your cloud, it can be for your VMs, bare metal, anything. And then GitOps, obviously scalability is very important, and GitOps integration is what is driving the cloud native world today, so we believe that GitOps is pretty essential. And then observability, I mean, you need to observe what is exactly happening, right? Where exactly the chaos is being induced, where exactly is your system going down, or chaos is induced in a controlled way, for you to visualize that here an outage occurred and here how the system is reacting to that chaos experiment itself. We'll move on to that later on, but moving on, let's talk about Litmus, what exactly Litmus is. So Litmus is nothing but a complete framework or a tool set to find weaknesses in your, not just in your Kubernetes platforms. I mean, initially it started as something for your Kubernetes platforms, but now I would say it's for your cloud native chaos engineering. As mentioned, redefines cloud native chaos engineering, follows the cloud native way of doing it, and they, developers, SREs, enterprises, every persona is automating chaos in a cloud native way with Litmus. So moving on, just a little bit about the project. It's a sandbox project, Cloud CNCF sandbox project. The CNCF world is developing, and already Litmus is moving towards incubation slowly, with the development happening and the maturity and the end user adoption. It was found in 2018. We were testing another tool set which is based on cloud native databases called OpenEBS, and that is where we realized that we need a chaos testing tool set, right? And every sort of cloud native project needs a chaos testing tool set. That is what we believe, and that is where we realized that we need to find something. And what was available in the market, we felt that it's not helping out. Let's write a project of our own, let's write a chaos tool. And slowly, once we started writing, we understood that this can actually become a project. And here we are 2-3 years down the line, and Litmus has become an own project in itself and is out there, used by so many folks. It just achieved 120,000 plus installations, and it's many more to come by the end of this year. And the upcoming installations, we are hoping that the adoption rate is pretty high. So what is the mission statement? I mean, it's meant to help help everyone identify weaknesses and potential outages that can happen in your cloud native systems by inducing chaos tests in a controlled way. And it's just not for SREs and security engineers, as I mentioned. It's for all personas and enterprises looking forward to meet the resiliency goals, achieve resiliency. So who are the contributors? Chaos Native, Intuit, Amazon, Red Hat, Container Solutions. These are a few folks who are contributing, and there are many more. I mean, it's a community related project, so you have your own use case. Let's say you want to run your own chaos experiment, so Litmus provides you a BYOC, bring your own chaos model. We'll come to that later on, where you can write your own chaos experiment and run it with the Litmus, I mean UI, or with Litmus itself. So moving on, there's the Chaos Hub. Let's move on to the Chaos Hub. What exactly it is? Let's take some time and move there. But Chaos Hub is a marketplace where you can find all your chaos experiments, and it is one of a kind. No other project has a hub or a marketplace of their own. It's just found on Litmus, so it will be pretty easy for you to find all the experiments which are already inbuilt in the Chaos Hub. So what are the resources? There's a repo, GitHub repo. All links will be there in the description of this video. GitHub, where you can find Litmus, the main repo, and there are various repos to help you write your own experiments, see how the front end and the back end of the project is built, and various aspects. There's a Slack community, so make sure you join that Slack community. That is where each and every user of Litmus comes in to ask their questions, put forward their concerns or any feature requests or any ideas they have. The documentation, of course, is the main aspect of any project, so the docs help you get started. For the social media part of it, Twitter is the best place where all the Litmus chaos engagement happens. And lastly, our blogs are present on dev.to, so you can follow these links to get access to these resources. Let's not waste time here, but move on to the versions of Litmus. So there are a couple of versions, okay. One of them is 1.x. As you can see, this is the workflow of 1.x, and then there is another version, that is the 2.x. We'll talk about it a bit further, but let's see what exactly 1.x is. So as you can see, there's a chaos hub. The hub out here, it's mentioned in blue color. The hub out here is the marketplace where the chaos experiments are present, and help install Litmus is basically you pulling in a help chart of Litmus to install Litmus in your system. Now there's a chaos operator which helps you access the custom resources that are out there. So what are the chaos custom resources? The chaos, as I mentioned in the CRDs. So the chaos custom resources are basically the chaos runner, the chaos experiment, and the chaos engine. And other than that, the operator helps you pull out a result. The result is basically to analyze if your chaos experiment passed or failed, or what exactly happened when you run the chaos test. But the chaos operator helps you watch these custom resources. So the chaos experiment YAML file is pulled from the chaos hub. The chaos engine helps you run the chaos experiment. It's another YAML file. And then the chaos runner pod is where the experiment is running, which acts as a cron job, or a job basically. So these chaos experiments run as jobs in your system, which is basically the actual chaos experiment, and all of this is running in a Kubernetes cluster. And what exactly is happening other than that, as you can see, you can schedule your chaos experiments. When do you want to start, when do you want to end? So that is where the chaos scheduler comes into play. And then there's a metrics exporter which helps you export these metrics, what exactly happened in your system. So they are exported as Prometheus metrics, and then you visualize them, and even your events, you can export everything. I mean, observability is key. Observability is something which is very important in today's world. So you need to analyze, you need to visualize what is exactly happening. So the chaos exporter helps you export these metrics, events, logs in form of Prometheus metrics, and then you can visualize them in your Grafana dashboards. So this is basically a very short description of what 1.x is. 1.x started as what Litmus was. It was for the developer persona, and anyone wanting to run a few chaos tests, just get started with chaos, can use 1.x. But then came the requirements. Then came requirements from enterprises. They wanted to visualize them. They wanted a UI, they wanted a dashboard, they wanted to run chaos workflows, they wanted GitOps, they wanted scheduling, they wanted it for their teams. So that is where we came up with Litmus 2.0. And this is the small workflow of what Litmus 2.0 is. So there's a Litmus portal, which is the UI of Litmus Chaos, that acts as I'll show you the UI after this slide. So the UI is basically where you see that how you visualize everything, how exactly everything is functioning. And then these are various Kubernetes clusters which can be run in series or parallel, or you can run various different I mean your applications. It can be a Kubernetes application, it can be a virtual machine application, or your public clouds, AWS, Azure, GCP, where you have a chaos workflow YAML, where a workflow is basically what it's a series, or it's a sequence of experiments which are run in series or parallel. So let's say you want to run a pod delete, a pod CPU hog, a pod memory hog, these few experiments together, so you can run them in series or parallel. That is what a workflow YAML is. So the portal, basically it's on the chaos workflow, this custom resource is the workflow YAML, and then they are the agents which help you run the chaos experiments. And then metrics and events are pulled out by the Prometheus metrics, which are visualized as chaos interleaved analytics. So multiple applications are running, you can run multiple chaos experiments together, you can schedule them, your teams can schedule them, and that is what happens in a portal, which helps you basically curate chaos experiments pretty easily without any taking any stress, or without running a lot of YAMLs, or without running a lot of code. You just visualize it on a UI, you do your thing, and you are able to run your chaos experiments. So let's get to what exactly. Let's just I'm just taking you through a couple of blogs where you will be able to understand what exactly the dashboards are, or how exactly Litmus portal looks like. So this is one of the blogs on workflow creation with Litmus 2.2. As you know, I mean, I would say it's in the beta version. So this is how your chaos dashboard looks like, the chaos Litmus portal looks like. You have a home section where you run your chaos tests. The workflows section help you create a new chaos workflow. There are a few sample applications out here, a sock shop application, or a potato head application that is available. The chaos hubs, you can create chaos hubs. I mean, there are two ways of having a chaos hub. That one is a public chaos hub, which I'll take you through later on, where all the pre-built experiments are there, and you can create a private chaos hub where you can pull in these YAML files or these experiments from the chaos hub, or you can write your own experiments and have them on the chaos hub. The agents basically help you run the experiments. The analytics is the section where you analyze. It's an inbuilt, either you have an external analysis on the Grafana dashboards pulling in the Prometheus metrics, or the Litmus portal provides you with an internal analytics section. And the settings help you set if you want to run it in a team or individually, and then how do you schedule them. And the documentation and community help you basically get started, ask your questions, and all these stuff. So this is basically how the UI looks. And in our next video, when we go to a demo, perhaps I'll take you through what exactly Litmus chaos is in terms of running Litmus, and then let's take you through what exactly the difference is between Litmus 1.x and 2.x. So as you can see this table, chaos experiments, there was, I mean, for 1.x it was just experiments. You run one experiment and then the other experiment. So creating workflows was not possible, and now we are creating workflows with Argo CD as of now, but the plan is to move ahead and curate chaos workflows with Flux and perhaps an own internal workflow agent. So it was a per user per cluster basis, but now it's cross cloud, hybrid cloud, multi cloud, multi tenant clusters can be run, and teams can easily run Litmus tests in your system. And there was just a CLI environment, but now there's a CLI and a GUI. I mean, as I mentioned, the UI that's out there, there's GitOps, scalability, and then integrated observability and interleaved monitoring. So that is what completes Litmus 2.2 and makes running chaos experiments pretty easy. So now you talk about how does Litmus run for non-Kubernetes scenarios. So let's get back to the presentation. As you can see, on a Kubernetes cluster, the portal is running, and there's a workflow controller controlling the workflows. The operator helps run the custom resources and the chaos experiments, and there's a non-Kubernetes chaos experiment custom resource. And then on the experiment pod, Litmus is running, and that is accessed by a network access control API, and that API accesses this litmus experiment which is running on a Kubernetes cluster itself. But on non-Kubernetes scenarios, then you are able to run your experiments as well through that API, like AWS, GCP, Azure, VMs. So that is what covers the non-Kubernetes scenarios. That is a question everyone has in their mind. So moving on, a couple of features which we'll be talking about, the chaos engineering APIs. As I mentioned about the CRDs help you manage chaos, and using your chaos API, orchestration, scheduling, and complex workflow management, all these can be done in a declarative manner. So basically, Litmus helps you induce chaos in a declarative way. So the chaos engineering APIs are backed by a chaos operator, and the experiments are basically written as custom resources. And the scheduler API helps you schedule these experiments, and SREs and developers can automate their chaos engineering experiment. Basically, that's the goal of the API, and that is why we chose the GitOps model, because large teams required that. That is where the chaos engineering APIs came to help in. And the SDK is the main part, as we talked about, bring your own chaos. So the SDK is available in Go, Python, and Ansible. So you can write your own experiments using the SDK. So the BYOC model talks about that if you are well versed with any of these three languages, then you can write your own experiment. You can easily write your experiment. They were originally created in Ansible previously, but then now they have been ported to Go. So most of the chaos experiments are written in Litmus Go. So you can check the Litmus Go repo and see how the experiments are curated, and write your own experiment and put it up there. And then as a container image, it's wrapped up, and then you pull in that image and start running your experiments. So that's the functionality of the Litmus SDK, and I think I love it, honestly. I mean, the SDK helps you write your own experiments. You are actually in a very good space with Litmus there. So talking about the project status as of now, I mean, it's as of June 19th, I would say. Again, it is constantly growing. There are a total of 59 experiments, 290,000 experiments run. I mean, I think 300,000 plus experiment runs, 110,000 plus installations, 1850 plus GitHub stars. I mean, 2000. After you watch this video, just hit that star button in GitHub, and let's take Litmus to 200 stars instantly. And then 700 plus, 750 plus Slack members, and that's how the Litmus has grown. As you can see, exponentially, the growth seems linear, but then you can also see the operator installs have grown exponentially. So that's just about the project status as of now. And then one question that comes into everyone's mind is where you can use Litmus, where exactly in the DevOps space you can use Litmus. And obviously you are constantly testing in production the DevOps loop. Basically, Litmus comes in to activate the DevOps loop in production, but you can use Litmus everywhere. I must tell you, you can use Litmus in your CI pipelines, in your developer environment, in your CI/CD, in your staging environment, while you run your long running tests, in your pre-prod environment and your production environment. So everywhere you can run Litmus, in any way possible. Let's say initially run it in your dev CI, then your long running tests, then in your staging, then in your pre-prod, and then in your production you continuously test. So Litmus can be used anywhere and everywhere. You don't have to worry about just using it into production directly, but from your developer environment itself you can get started. So now we are going to talk about experiments. I'm not going to explain a lot on experiments, but take you through it. So there are experiments which are based on platform chaos, and as you can see, the node eviction, the node drain, or the node taint experiment, and then there's the CPU hog, memory hog. So that is basically about stressing the CPU or the memory of the Kubernetes node, and then you can see the node kubelet tests, and then disk loss, DNS service disruption. These are a few tests that are the platform level chaos tests. Each experiment is defined in the documentation, so you can just take a look at the documentation, and that will help you understand what exactly each experiment does. And then there are Kubernetes resource experiments. I mean, there's a pod kill, or a pod delete experiment, a container kill, and then pod disk fill experiment, pod network fault, latency loss, corruption, duplication. All these things have been catered and taken care of if you talk about Kubernetes native experiments. And then lastly, this is the Chaos Hub. So as you can see, this is the marketplace. I'll take you through the Chaos Hub where all these experiments are present. I mean, there are generic experiments, Kafka experiments, Cassandra, and then AWS, VM, Azure. More experiments are coming up, but these all experiments are there in the marketplace. So let's just take you to the marketplace. So hub.litmuskiosk.io is the place to go. And here you can see that these are the experiments that are available to you all. You can just change the version that you're using. Let's say you're using 2.0, so you just choose this version, and then you just pull in any experiment. There are a lot of experiments out there, and most of them are community driven. A lot of them have been contributed by the community, so you can contribute an experiment as well here and easily pull in one experiment and start running it. So lastly, how can you contribute? I mean, coming back to the end of this, I mean, there's a lot we talked about, but eventually it's very important to understand how you can contribute. So we welcome everyone to contribute. The code is out there on our GitHub. You can take a look at our GitHub and see what is missing and what exactly you can contribute to. The documentation is also available. You can contribute to the docs as well. Write something if you're a technical writer, or if you are someone interested in writing better docs, then come in. We need a lot of folks who should contribute to the docs. And then with 2.0 coming up, the beta docs are already out there, so you can take a look and contribute to that, and then the 2.0 GA docs as well. And where we are on Slack, on the Kubernetes Slack, the Litmus channel, or you, after joining the Kubernetes Slack, you can use slack.litmuskiosk.io, and you can join in and understand how you can contribute, take up some good first issues, ask the maintainers and the contributors where you can contribute, and that is how you can get started with your journey to contribute to Litmus. So with that, I come to an end of this presentation. Of this video. I hope you liked everything that I spoke. Give your recommendations or review my work on the comment section. Please let us know how do you like Litmus, or what exactly has Litmus help you to do. And try Litmus today. Get started with Litmus today in the smallest possible ways. Run a small test, and then gradually move towards adopting chaos engineering. Chaos engineering adoption is not easy. Everyone is not able to adopt chaos because of various issues. I mean, it can be organization level issues, or you're just not ready, it's not in your roadmap. But running a few tests in as a developer as well will help you a lot. So here are the docs, and hope to see you in the next video. Let us know what exactly you want us to cover, and take care and see you soon. Bye bye.